Uncertainty and an unfolding humanitarian crisis have gripped eastern parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The M23 rebel group currently controls the largest city in North Kivu province, close to the Rwandan border. And after capturing Goma last week, its fighters are now reported to be heading south towards another city, Bukavu. Now, the battle for Goma destroyed homes and livelihoods and displaced hundreds of thousands of people. The UN says as many as 2,900 people have been killed there, with the bodies of many victims now being buried in mass graves. Now, aid groups have raised the alarm amid fears that disease might spread.
We lost 3 people, some from a bomb, another was shot. Honestly, we are devastated by what happened in Goma. Our biggest plea is for the leaders to ensure that the war ends, because war has no value. We want peace in Goma.
The battle for the control of Goma has unleashed a level of conflict in urban area not seen in decades in the region, with heavy artillery striking into town and violence spreading to many neighborhoods of the city. The human toll is staggering. Hospitals remain totally overwhelmed. The morgues are full. Medical teams cannot cope with the number of injured. The risk of epidemics are high, including cholera and mpox. And food has become scarce with inflation, and prices are rising.
Now, diplomatic efforts to end the conflict have so far failed, but the Rwandan and Congolese presidents Paul Kagame and Felix Tshisekedi are expected to attend a summit in Tanzania to address the crisis. Rwanda denies claims from the UN and DRC that it is supporting the rebel advance. We'll hear from them in a moment, but first, here's the Congolese president who says the international community needs to take action.
Your silence and your inaction in the face of the Kigali regime's barbarity and the atrocities perpetrated by its henchmen on our territory are an affront not only to the Democratic Republic of Congo, but also to universal values of justice and peace. The Congolese people take note of this passivity bordering on complicity.
M23 are not Rwandans, please. These are Congolese, and one time he accepts it, then another time he says no, part of it is yes, and then the other part is from Rwanda, and these are he keeps on going. And how do we, leaders of our own countries, accept this to go on forever and just accept that we shall be manipulated by Tshisekedi or whoever is supporting him?
Now, the DRC accuses Rwanda of using M23 to loot Congolese minerals. The rebels have seized lucrative mining areas in the country's east. A UN report last December said the M23 group was sending hundreds of tons of the rare metal coltan to Rwanda every month. That's a key component used for mobile phones and electric vehicles. Now, to get a better perspective of the situation, I spoke to one of the leading experts on the Democratic Republic of Congo. Jason Stearns previously led the UN panel of experts on the DRC. He's the founder and the chair of the Congo Research Group. I began our conversation by asking him about the latest rebel push in eastern DRC and what the M23 group is seeking to achieve.
Well, their stated goal now is to overthrow the government in Kinshasa. They have recently said that they want to go all the way to Kinshasa to overthrow the government. That's a new stated goal. Their ambitions used to be much smaller, but I think that things have changed dramatically in the last few weeks with the fall of Goma and what looks like a continued advance on other cities in the Congo.
How sophisticated is M23? You say their ambition is growing. Is the outfit growing too?
Well, the M23 is really inseparable from the Rwandan army. From the very beginning, the Rwandan army has played a very important role in providing supplies, but really also in backing up the M23. A lot of the fighting's being done by the Rwandan army. They are contributing at the moment, estimated somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000 troops to probably an equal number of M23 fighters. They have used armored vehicles, surface-to-air missiles, sophisticated drones. And so the real firepower from the M23 really comes from the Rwandan army. It's unclear without the Rwandan army how much internal cohesion, training, and expertise the M23 actually have.
You recently pointed out in one of your recent blogs that this is now the 5th time that the city of Goma has been under siege and that Rwanda has had a hand in the escalation. What, if anything, is different this time?
Well, I think it's useful to point out the last time that Goma fell, which was 2012, that was also to the M23 rebellion. Even before the town of Goma fell, the international community imposed sanctions on the Rwandan government for its support. They cut $240 million of aid to the Rwandan government, and that had an almost immediate impact. The Rwandan government ended up pulling the plug, and the M23 rebellion collapsed. This time it's quite different. Over the last 3.5 years that the M23 rebellion has been around, and even though there have been 6 different United Nations reports documenting Rwandan support to the M23, the international community has actually not only not suspended aid to Rwanda, it has increased its support to the Rwandan government. The European Union in particular provides aid to the Rwandan army, its deployments in Mozambique, and has signed very large new investment agreements in Rwanda. So I think that what's really changed is the complacency of the international community.
I want to probe you in a moment about that. But just coming back to the region, there are fears of escalation. We know that neighboring countries, Uganda and Burundi, are now also involved. What's in it for these countries?
You're absolutely right. There's a very real risk of a regional conflagration. Well, let's take it one by one. Burundi has been involved, is deeply involved in the DRC now. There's been very strong tensions between Burundi and Rwanda, which is its neighbor. A war of words between the two presidents for some time now. But the Burundian government has also sent thousands of troops to the eastern Congo to fight alongside the Congolese troops. And what we've seen in recent weeks is really a war between Rwanda and Burundi on Congolese soil, with hundreds of troops on either side dying. So there already is a regional conflagration between those two countries. Uganda is playing a very strange role. On the one hand, it has troops in the Congo collaborating with the Congolese government against a Ugandan rebel group that's further to the north of the M23 rebellion. But on the other hand, according to UN investigators, they've been in complicity with the M23 rebellion as well. And so they're playing both sides here. And it's not entirely clear what their end goal is. All of these countries have immense interests in the eastern DRC, political security, but also economic interests. And they're all trying to guarantee their interests by deploying troops into the eastern Congo.
Where do you see this going? You told us that the M23's stated goal is to take the government in Kinshasa. Will the Congolese army be able to take back Goma and other territory that's been taken by these rebels, and at what cost would that come?
I think everything's in the hands now really of international reaction, which is a sad reality. The Congolese government should be able to defend its own territory. I think it's not. If the Rwandan government and the M23 want to keep pushing, they will, in my mind, are likely to take Bukavu, which is a town of 1 million people immediately to the south of Goma. And they could push on. I'm not sure they'll make it all the way to Kinshasa, but I'm not sure their goal is to make it to Kinshasa. I think their goal may be to provoke a crisis that could then topple not only the government in Kinshasa, but also the government in Burundi as well. So I think this really has the makings of a regional crisis, and everything really is in the hands of international community. Rwanda is a very aid-dependent country. Around 20 to 30% of its budget comes from international aid. Even more so than that, it's very dependent upon its reputation, its international reputation. They call it Brand Rwanda. You have teams from Bayern Munich to PSG to Arsenal all wearing Visit Rwanda on their sleeves. You have a Formula One race that they're bidding to host in Rwanda. You have vast amount of tourism that comes every year to Rwanda, and all of that really is on the line. So I think that it really behooves the international community to act as quickly as possible to make sure this doesn't become a much worse crisis.
And maybe just talk us through the minerals and the money that's at stake here. We know that Rwanda's become an increasingly big player in the export of minerals. We know that the European Union, for example, a bloc that could perhaps exercise some of its leverage over Kigali, has been sort of unwilling to do so, as you're pointing out. Just talk to us about this dynamic of these critical and rare minerals that are in this region and that are being fought over.
Yeah, so the main mineral at stake here, the big money earner, is gold. So Rwanda exported $1.1 billion worth of minerals last year, or 2023 actually. Around 80% of that was gold. The rest is a mixture of tantalum and tin and niobium. And most of this, it's hard to put a figure to it, but most of all of that comes from the Eastern Congo. Now, this is not too different than Uganda and Burundi, two other neighboring countries. And so all the countries in the region are actually making a lot of money off Congolese minerals. And so I think that it's a key part of the conflict. I would hesitate to reduce it to minerals, though. The conflict initially was not created by minerals. It wasn't re-triggered by minerals. This is a matter of geopolitical competition between states in the region for control over the Eastern Congo.
Why are countries in the region vying for control of this part of the country, if it's not the minerals?
Well, it is. I mean, it's also minerals. It's broader than just minerals, because you can make minerals in peacetime as well. In fact, Rwanda has done so. Before the M23 crisis erupted, Rwanda was in relatively good relations with the Eastern Congo. And I think that what many would hope would that they'd be able to grow the pie, be able to make more money, prosper, have everybody prosper in peace. It's just that conflict economies benefit certain people who would not benefit if the region was at peace. So what is it about in the Eastern Congo? It's about control. This initial conflict was triggered, in fact, by Ugandan deployments, army deployments, just to the north of this area. And the Rwandan government was afraid Uganda would use their deployments in the Congo to destabilize Rwanda. That's how most people believe this conflict started. So it's really about countries, fighting, quarreling in the Eastern Congo on Congolese soil for political security and economic interests.
All right, that is the expert, Jason Stearns. We appreciate your insight in coming onto this program, Jason. Thanks very much.
Thank you.